What better way to come back with an MJ rant than to discredit the biggest piece of evidence that the Michael Jackson hater community has at their disposal? Let's fucking do this. Jordan Chandler's drawing from 1993. Did it match? Well, let's find out. It was funny because I was sent this article, which is basically a mock parody version of the VindicateMJJ.com. A very, very credible website. You should check it out, by the way. They post a lot of court documents and analyze them. The MJ haters will say that VindicateMJ is basically a fake site used to make MJ appear innocent, which is not true, because if that was the case, they would never post court documents. They would just run their mouths. However, they do post court documents. MJFacts.com does not. Anyway, so this website posted a little article trying to prove that the drawing did match. And this should prove that this website is totally credible. Dun 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 dun! That is the cover photo. If that is not the face of a very credible website with professional information, then I don't know what is. So let's start right at the beginning. I'm sure most of you know how Jordan and Michael Jackson met, but for those who don't, here's the story. Michael Jackson was out driving his automobile when it suddenly broke down. It broke down just across the road from Jordan's stepdad's car rental business. Michael went over to ask for help and assistance, and Jordan's stepfather happily complied. Jordan had previously met MJ many years back at a restaurant. Jordan's stepdad told Michael about this and told him how Jordan had become a massive fan of him and his music since then. After a brief meeting at the car rental business, Michael and Jordan exchanged telephone numbers and kept in contact with each other. Eventually, Michael invited Jordan over to his Neverland ranch, where in time MJ started spending lots of unsupervised time alone with Jordan. So the very first biased fucking piece of information we have here is just that Michael invited them over. It's always the same thing with these haters, that Michael invited them all. In their mind, Michael never invited the whole family, or that Michael never, the kids never invited themselves. But if you actually looked at the real facts, most of the time the kids actually invited themselves, or Michael, and if Michael did, he would invite both the child as well as their parents. Anyway, oh, and I should probably mention as well, sorry about that, if it was so unsupervised, then why when Michael Jackson stayed at Jordan Chandler's house was Evan Chandler there? Evan was there in the house when he apparently found him spooning. If Michael really wanted so much alone time with him, do you really think Michael would spoon him in his own house with Evan there? Jordan had come from a broken home with his parents separated. A broken home. Yeah, his father was... Evan was a dentist, dude. And wanted to be a film director. He had money. Eventually, things turned sour as Jordan's father walked into his son's bedroom to find his son and Michael in bed together, allegedly in the spooning position in the same way as a man would spoon his wife. Evan didn't know what to think initially, but eventually approached Jackson and asked him if he was fucking his son. Michael allegedly just giggled. And that's where the paragraph ends. It's never mentioned that all the information in that last paragraph comes from a Michael Jackson documentary, which is nothing but a hate documentary called the Boy, Michael Jackson and the Boy He Paid Off. Every single bit of information is incorrect, literally all of it. They don't mention the fact that the only reason Michael was in the bed at all is because Michael Jackson had a big headache. Evan Chandler gave him a Demerol injection in order to relieve the pain. He gave it on his ass, which, by the way, would have been a great chance for Evan Chandler to make any notes of Michael Jackson's ass or penis, as far as what it looks like, to tell Jordan later, because Michael would have passed out very soon after that injection, had just about no time to walk into the bedroom, molest Jordan, and then spoon him. And on top of that, even if Michael did, do you really fucking think Michael would do that right in their own home where they could very easily walk in any given moment? If Michael was such a pedophile, he'd be a bit more secretive. So let's get on to what this post is all about. The blemished penis. Yay, let's do it. Jackson appeared on the show with his new wife, Lisa Marie Presley, when questioned about the markings on his penis, he said there was none, but we know this to be a big, massive lie, as I will explain further on in this entry. Yeah, Michael Jackson does lie. Lied about surgeries and other stuff, too. Why do I think he lied about that? Maybe because he was shy about having a discoloration on his dick. But let's go to the haters' point. Does that prove that Michael Jackson is trying to hide what his penis really looked like from the drawing? Absolutely fucking not, because we all knew that the drawing exists. You can see it. The one from Victor's book. Haters will deny that it's even the real drawing, but you know, it's the only public one we've seen, so I'm going to take it as credible. But let's assume that the drawing is bullshit. According to the only drawing we do have, Michael Jackson knew that the drawing simply didn't even match. It just didn't. I mean, he thought Jordan thought he was circumcised, and although a lot of MJ haters will deny that Jordan thought that, the drawing proves it. Okay? Side note, I wanted to say that why the fuck is it that many MJ haters deny that photo other than the fact that it proves them wrong? The funny thing is, the photo was added in Victor's book. Why does that matter? Well, Victor tried to prove that Michael was a pedophile. Victor hates Michael. And the second that he has a piece of evidence in the book that the haters don't agree with, all of a sudden Victor is not the great guy that the haters once thought he was. Very simple theory for that. Obviously, Victor thought that the photo would help prove that Michael Jackson was guilty, but all it actually did was prove that Jordan had no idea what his penis looked like. So, haters, before you go off and say, oh, it's in Victor's book, Matt, that's not credible. The haters love him. He said terrible things about Michael. So, before you throw him away just because he no longer follows your views, why don't you just admit that one very simple fact? He put it in the book because he thought it would prove Michael Jackson was guilty. He used it as something bad. But when it showed that the photo actually really didn't match at all, that particular drawing, the haters go, oh wait, no, you know what, Victor, no, we don't, you're not credible anymore. That's the real drawing. Jordan drew it. It doesn't match. And now back to Michael. As far as Michael goes, I just think it was as simple as this. Shyness, old news, why talk about it? Maybe thinking of saying that will stir things up again. He already knew the truth anyway, let's just get it out. Maybe he knew that if he said that it did have a discoloration, Diane would ask him more questions. You know, things like that. Very basic things like that any person with a functioning brain can come up with. So where are we at now? The police have taken the photos, they've taken them away to be developed. What happens next? Well, not a lot happens. The police are still in the process of investigating and compiling evidence against Jackson. But that comes to an abrupt end as Michael Jackson pays out a huge sum of money to Jordan Chandler, reported to be around $22 million, to drop the charges against him. Once again, it's trying to manipulate you into thinking that as soon as the pictures were taken, Michael Jackson paid off the money. Even though it happened about a month and a half later, not a week later, as many MJ haters would lead you to believe. Additionally, they probably knew that it would cause a big, pathetic trial. Michael wanted to move on with his life. He wanted to make a new album, and that was it. After Jordan received the settlement, he made himself unavailable for a criminal trial. Of course. He goes on with the civil lawsuit, he gets the money, and as soon as he gets the money, he could... Let's make this abundantly clear. Jordan and Evan could have pursued a criminal trial, but they didn't. Despite this, though, the authorities were still keen to prosecute Jackson as they believed the evidence they had gathered was very significant. Yeah, Sneddon thought the same thing in 2005, but most of the evidence that he gathered was just fake. He actually literally falsified evidence. Proven fact. Bill Jordan also confirmed that not only him, but every single person in his department that interviewed Jordan found him consistent and credible regarding the allegations he made against Jackson. So we had the lead investigator from the LAPD Police Department confirming that Jordan's description of the unique blemishes on Jackson's genitalia was absolutely correct. But do we have any more sources that confirm this? Yes, we certainly do. We now have to go into MJ's 2005 trial, where the district attorney, Thomas Sneddon, very credible man, declared under penalty of perjury that he believed Jordan Chandler's description and drawings of distinctive blemishes on Michael Jackson's genitals was accurate and not something that the boy could have randomly guessed. First of all, it is proven that Thomas Sneddon falsified information. Second, even if he did this under oath, I really don't think he would care because he was planning to retire within 1 year. And thirdly, he wasn't even allowed to use that evidence, so what did he really have to lose by saying that? Do we have any other evidence that it matched? Well, you have to ask yourself, if Jordan's description absolutely did not match, or if it contained big errors like circumcision versus non-circumcision, which it did, then why didn't Michael Jackson ever dispute it? Because, again, it would take a long time, maybe? I don't know, maybe that's why? Maybe Michael was told not to for whatever reason?
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen. beyond his worst nightmares. Sell one more record. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want. They will be destroyed forever.
From the beginning, Jackson's private investigator said the accusations were brought about by a failed extortion attempt and says the taped conversation reinforces that.
It spells out everything to me that this was an extortion attempt from the very beginning. It was all planned.